your friendly neighborhood bibliothecary. In preparation for Dragon Age the Veilguard coming out at the end of October, I'm reading through the in-game codex entries of the first 3 Dragon Age games to refamiliarize myself with the lore. Today, we'll be reading the codex entries for companions in Dragon Age Inquisition. Warning, there are in-game spoilers in these codex entries. So, without further ado, grab your cuppa, make yourself comfortable, and let's start reading. Blackwall. I do not have much on Warden Blackwall. We know he became Constable of the Grey in Val Cheven after Warden Constable Fontaine assumed the position of Commander of the Grey from her predecessor. He also bears the Silverite Wings of Valor, an honor bestowed upon Orlesian wardens for deeds of great daring. The details of the act for which Blackwall earned the Silverite Wings, however, are sketchy. Grey wardens hide their secrets well. The medal was likely awarded for a campaign to secure Deep Road's entrances within Orlais, shortly after the Fifth Blight. Several Grey Wardens lost their lives on that campaign. Perhaps more would be dead if not for Blackwall. According to my sources, Warden Blackwall has been traveling alone for several years now. The last anyone saw him at the keep in Val Cheven, it was 937 Dragon. It has been completely abandoned, along with all other Warden outposts. I believe Blackwall is as curious about this disappearance as we are. Perhaps in time, we will find answers. Leliana. If Blackwall's companion quest Revelations was completed. Constable of the Grey, Silverite Wings of Valor, hardly relevant now. They were Warden Blackwall's achievements, and the man we thought to be him was someone else entirely. It explains why I had scant information on Blackwall. He must have been lying low for years. I compiled everything I had on Thomas Raynor. Read on. Leliana. What follows is a history of Thomas Raynor, prepared for delivery by Sister Leliana. Raynor was born in Markham, a city-state in the Free Marches. There's little information on his early life, but he was already a skilled warrior by the time he turned 18. Hoping to make his fortune, he joined the Grand Tourney, that great marcher contest of arms. He won the melee, proving himself and earning a substantial sum of gold. What happened to the gold Raynor won in the tourney is a mystery. 2 years later, he appeared in Orlais no richer than at 18. Still, he leveraged his abilities and lingering fame to gain a place in the Orlesian army. Raynor excelled as a soldier, rising through the ranks quickly to become a captain with a number of men under him. Raynor's men were fiercely loyal. Our sources believe that many would have gladly defied a higher command at his word. On the surface, Raynor safeguarded his men's interests, but further investigation reveals that he was primarily concerned with his own advancement and profit. Raynor's desire to amass a fortune likely explains his involvement in the massacre of Lord Vincent Caillé and his family. Our sources tell us that Raynor was approached by a chevalier, Sir Robert Chappuis. Sir Robert supported Grand Duke Gaspard's claim to the throne and wished to enter into his good graces by eliminating Lord Caillé, one of Celine's staunchest allies. Chappuis hired Raynor to assassinate Caillé and offered him a great deal of coin for it. We have no reason to believe his actions were politically motivated. In the spring of 935, Lord Caillé and his family were traveling to their summer home on Lake Celestine when their caravan was ambushed. It is unknown if Raynor realized that Caillé would be traveling with his family. Raynor and his men slaughtered Lord Caillé and his entourage. They spared not even the children, all 4 under the age of 13. It seems that none of Raynor's men were aware of the true reasons behind the Lord's killing. They simply followed Raynor's orders. Rumors of Raynor's connection to the murders began swirling through the upper ranks of the army, and must have given him forewarning. He was gone when guards came to arrest him. His men, however, were not so lucky. Almost all were charged with treason, save a few who managed to get away. Tom Raynor was labeled a traitor and a criminal, but remained at large until now. Blackwall in the last few years, if the Inquisitor pardon Raynor. Inquisitor, I hope this letter finds you well. I apologize for my prolonged absence. I have traced the whereabouts of one more of my former company, and I am writing to you from Kirkwall, where he now resides. I knew him as Private Nicholas Lorry. He goes by Klaus now. Unlike so many of the men I betrayed, Klaus found a way to put his life together without turning to crime. It doesn't in any way lessen the horror of what I did, but it was comforting to see at least one life not completely ruined by my actions. Klaus is married to a lovely lady. They run a small bakery. Didn't take him long for recognition to dawn, and then I had two mince pies lobbed at my head. Pies that were fresh from the oven, mind you. It was a good thing I ducked. I made my apologies. Even after months of searching and making reparations, it was still hard. To his credit, Klaus allowed me to talk, and we ended the visit with ales at the Hanged Man. I should return within the month. Thank you for allowing me this time, Inquisitor. Yours, Tom Raynor. If the Inquisitor sent Raynor to the Grey Wardens. An excerpt of a report bearing the seal of the Grey Wardens found among Inquisition files. Tom Raynor. Participated in Grand Tourney. Former captain of Orlesian army. Known for murder, treason. Also known for impersonating a Grey Warden, Warden Constable Blackwall Valcheven. Member of Inquisition, played role in defeat of Corypheus. Status, recruited. Joining, survived. Assignment, free marches, Vimmark Mountains, reporting to Warden Staudenmeier in ongoing investigation of Vimmark Prison. If the Inquisitor ordered Blackwall to serve as a fake Grey Warden, correspondence found in Commander Cullen's files. To whom it may concern, the presence of a warden named Blackwall in your organization was recently brought to the attention of the first warden of Weishaupt as part of an ongoing internal investigation into Grey Warden corruption. We have reason to believe that this individual is not who he claims to be, and that Warden Constable Blackwall of Valcheven is dead. We request that Blackwall be released to the Grey Warden so that we may inquire further into this matter. Sincerely, Warden Melina Frey, Secretary, Weishaupt. A note in Cullen's handwriting follows. My thought is that this has gone on too long. Hand Raynor over to them and let us finally be free of the matter. If Blackwall's personal quest was not unlocked, correspondence found in the Inquisition files dated more than 2 years ago. Charter. I have a side assignment for you. Warden Blackwall is no longer with the Inquisition, as you know. Josephine has tried to reach him through the usual channels. The wardens say that Blackwall is missing, presumed dead. They haven't seen him since the Battle of Adamant Fortress. Something about this feels wrong. Could you look into it? Only if you have time, of course. L. Nightingale. Turns out that the Warden Blackwall we knew wasn't Blackwall at all, but a man named Thomas, more commonly known as Tom Raynor. Once a captain in the Orlesian army, he was, for reasons unknown, posing as the good warden and managed to just about fool everyone, including some actual wardens. About 6 months after we defeated Corypheus, this Thomas Raynor turned himself into the Orlesian authorities for crimes committed several years ago. He hasn't been seen since. As Varric says, I couldn't make this up if I tried. Charter. Cassandra. Lord Seeker Lucius, I am fully aware of the intent behind your predecessor's declaration. Lord Seeker Lambert pried the Templars away from Chantry control and led them into an assault upon all mages for reasons you both find justified. I, however, am uncertain when the Seekers of Truth went from guarding against injustice to perpetuating it. If you truly believe that is not the case, I suggest you look out a window at the chaos this war has caused and ask yourself if Thedas will recover even if you are victorious. I remain at Divine Justinia's right hand, and will stay there even if you brand me a traitor. I am sorry, but there is too much at stake to swerve from the path we willingly followed at the Chantry's foundation. From a letter by Seeker Cassandra Pentagast to Lord Seeker Lucian Corin, Dragon 939. If Cassandra is elected Divine Victoria, now her hand is raised, a sword to pierce the sun. With iron shield she defends the faith, let chaos be undone. Cassandra in the last few years. If Cassandra is the Divine. Inquisitor. You don't need me to dictate every word exactly, do you? I may be divine, but that doesn't mean I have any particular skill at letter writing. Should I start with a joke? I don't know how to make hours upon hours of meetings with Grand Clerics sound anything less than mind-crushingly tedious. I also don't know how to make a joke about that. Something involving hats, probably Varric would know. It's very important that I sound reassuring. The Inquisitor has so much to deal with already and should not have to worry about the state of the Chantry on top of everything else. You can say something about how well the Red Lyrium cleanup efforts have gone, can't you? and perhaps mention that Templars and mages. No, never mind. That subject has been discussed to death. Oh, perhaps mention the play about the Inquisitor's heroism that is being performed in Val Royeaux. That would be good to hear about, I'm sure. Ugh, I'm late for a meeting with some revered mothers from Navarra. Just finish this up with something appropriate. With the grace and benediction of the Maker, Divine Victoria. If Cassandra is not the Divine Inquisitor, I'm writing to you from the Hunterhorn Mountains, where I was successful in tracking down Seeker Emery. She was more shocked than most to hear of Lord Seeker Lucius' betrayal, as he was her mentor when she was just an initiate. But she is eager to help rebuild, and she has heard of a few other Seekers who might have been sent to Ravane. I still do not know how many of us yet remain, how many Lucius killed, but I know that we are recovering, and I know that we will be better this time. I confess I look forward to returning to Orlais next month. Once I would have thought that impossible. Orlais was little more than the land of frustrating politics, excessive ornamentation, and responsibilities I did not want. But now that friends wait me there, it is almost a home. Cassandra. If the Seekers were not rebuilt. Inquisitor. I have completed the survey of the port at Antiva City and found no further sign of Fade energy or demons since you closed the rift here in the spring. Our mages believe the veil in this region is stable, at least for now. However, no reassurances can pacify the merchant princes. It may take a personal visit from the Maker to stop their complaining. I can hardly believe it possible, but I think all of the rifts are finally sealed. I cannot even guess what we will do next. Also, Yvette Montelier has sent you a box filled with tea, or spices, or Maker knows what powdery brown substance that smells slightly like soap. It may be soap for all I know. She included a note saying, "Enjoy," with several curly cues and a drawing of a smiling flower. I'll ask Josephine to decipher this when I return. Cassandra. If Cassandra was romanced. An addendum is scribbled quickly at the bottom of the letter. P.S. When we see each other again, I will look forward to spending time with you. It will be soon, I hope. Though I have my duties and I can hardly begrudge you yours. What I mean is that it will be good to be back beside you. Ugh, how does Varric make this sound natural? Be well and safe, my love. Cole. His name is Cole. He's not that old, perhaps 20 years, no more. He has blonde hair that hangs in front of his eyes. He wears dirty leathers, perhaps the only clothes he owns. He was there when you found Reese in the Templar crypt, but you couldn't see him. Nobody can, and those who do forget him, just like you are right now. Remember the dream. A letter allegedly written by former Knight Commander Evangeline de Broussard, found in the spire in the aftermath of the Mage Uprising. If Cole is recruited during the Forgotten Boy. Inquisitor. If you believe that this Cole truly wishes to help the Inquisition and can be trusted to do so safely, I'm willing to give him a chance to prove himself. As Solus insists that he is a spirit made manifest in the form of a young man, not a demon possessing an unwilling victim, I can see that he may not be malicious. Nevertheless, Cole's abilities concern me. I would ask Liliana to have him watched, but most of Skyhold seems unable to see the spirit or remember him even if informed of his existence. The servants complain of odd occurrences, items mislaid or moved to strange locations, but have thus far been unable to see or remember the person responsible. Such actions appear harmless thus far, but I remain vigilant. Cassandra. Cole appreciates the Inquisition helping those who are hurting and in need. If Cole is told to leave during the Forgotten Boy, the Codex will only state the Inquisition knows of no one by this name. Cole in the last few years. If Cole is more human. Inquisitor, your suggestion regarding the young man Cole was excellent. He displays an uncanny ability to locate missing people. When hostile forces held our agents and we feared they would be killed if we approached, Cole was able to reach them without being detected. While he has been less useful overall at extracting intelligence, I have learned to trust his instincts about whether a target is trustworthy or malicious. Per your request, I have limited his assistance to rescue operations or attacks on clearly hostile forces. Whatever magic lives in the young man's mind, it would be poorly served by the less pleasant necessities of our work. His remarks about my family, while not germane to the mission at hand, were also greatly appreciated. Yours, Charter. If Cole is more spirit. Inquisitor, I send this to you uncertain whether this comprises a joke, a test, or some form of magic. If it is the latter, I wish to state that I am deeply uncomfortable, but based on the results, I can hardly complain. Our work has never been more successful. I have no recollection of having written the following, but it is clearly my hand, with signifiers in the language that make it clear that I acted of my own volition when writing it. I assume that you will make more of it than I can. Yours, Charter. Send to Inquisitor Inri Cole. Quarterly progress. Rescues 6, higher than expected. Targets hit 4. 1 dead when wanted for interrogation. No prisons? Agent morale strong. Some crying? All insisted they were good tears, strong emotions, but unrelated to mission at hand, usually tied to some past trauma. Oddities. Misplaced items, unexpected, often tied to emotional revelation among group. Concern with hostile blood mage binding demons. V. Angry. Wax on my fingers. Bees drone behind me as the honeycomb crunches between my teeth. She was always proud of me. Why did I write this? Dorian. Only child and heir presumptive to the senatorial seat of Magister Hallward Pavis, Dorian comes from a prestigious line of mages, prominent in the coastal Tevinter city of Corinus since the late Exalted Age. At that time, the Imperium was recovering from a failed Exalted March in the Fourth Blight. Gideon Pavis arose as a voice of reason within the Magisterium. His bloc of allies convinced the Imperium not to descend upon the weakened South, to extend a hand of reconciliation to those who have once sought their destruction. That House Pavis remained standing even after Magister Gideon was tried for treason is a testament to the power he built, and, as Dorian himself would claim, an excellent example of internecine politics into Tevinter can bring low even the brightest star. A lesson, he says, one should never forget. Dorian in the last few years. Inquisitor, it was good to hear from you, my friend. For months I've had only the society of May Varys's fledgling Lucerni party, junior members of the magisterium so filled with fire and zeal and so wildly inept at politics, May keeps a bucket of ice water on hand in case one accidentally immolates himself. Lest I give you the wrong impression, we are making progress, but it will take a great deal of skill to keep the Lucerni alive through the usual schedule of Minrathous scheming long enough to become a real political faction. Fortunately, they do have me. I'm sorry to hear that politics are plaguing you as well. Must be something go around like a pestilence or an Orlesian fashion trend. Hopefully Josephine can diffuse the Ferelden outcry and persuade the Orlesians to stop circling you with a collar and leash. You know she did always love a challenge. I'll find an excuse to make a trip south soon. We should really catch up in person, don't you agree? Dorian. If Dorian is romanced. Amadis. I greatly enjoyed your last letter, as did the servants who stole it from my room and read it aloud to the kitchen staff. That small scandal was the only bright spot in the whole month. Minrathous is utterly and completely dull without you. Mayveris and I have been meeting with our fledgling Lucerni party, a dozen junior magisters with burning hatred for the corruption of the Imperium, and little idea how to change it beyond shouting incoherently. It's going to require a lot of work from May and me to turn them into shrewd magisterium politicians. Don't laugh. I know you're too tangled up in Inquisition business to get away, but we must find a chance to meet. Letters are a poor substitute for your company. Dorian. If Dorian left the Inquisition. Inquisitor, despite all my efforts to the contrary, we will be meeting again in the not-so-distant future. My political agitating has persuaded someone in government to send me out of the country. I shall be joining you at the Winter Palace in Halam Sharal for some dreadful international council. I'm sure you'll count the days. Dorian Pavis. Iron Bull. My dear friend, I completely understand the difficulty you face. To have such well-equipped bandits attack your family's caravans so regularly and with such exquisite knowledge of your shipping schedules is indeed highly unfortunate. There is no shame at all in finding your household guards wanting in such trying circumstances. To answer your question, when faced with my own troubles last year, I employed the Bull's chargers. Their leader, the Iron Bull, is a Kunari, a great horned giant of a man. He looked like a savage, but spoke like a gentleman. He seems unstoppable in combat, but is far more clever than a simple swordsman. His mercenaries were costly, but they were both strong enough to protect my family's caravans and clever enough to discover how the bandits came into such luck at their attacks upon my family. The bandits have been no trouble at all since, and a baron of our mutual acquaintance effusively assured me that he would be greatly surprised if they ever again caused us difficulty. If you wish to employ the Iron Bull, I can provide you with his contact information, as well as a list of the liquors he enjoys most particularly. Will your husband also be present at these negotiations, or will you be making the acquaintance of the Iron Bull in a more intimate setting? If so, we shall have to talk the next time our men go hunting. Yours in friendship, B. A letter lifted from a hidden drawer in a noblewoman's vanity and copied carefully before being returned. Iron Bull in the last few years. If Iron Bull is still Ben Hasrath. Thank you for the information. We've removed the Venatori informant. Ansburg should be safer for Inquisition and Ben Hasrath agents. Enclosed is the location of the ruins Talus discovered just north of Halam Sharal. The obvious magical activity suggests that Inquisition forces are better equipped to determine the nature and magnitude of the threat than our people. While the Imperium's increased internal struggle aids both the Kunari and the Inquisition, we suggest you keep a close watch. Both sides are likely to recruit allies, and Ben Hasrath intelligence suggests that Navarra is already unstable. Excerpts from Ben Hasrath reports. If the Chargers were saved. Thank you for sending the Chargers to assist in the dealing with the demons attacking Montfort. Their assistance was most appreciated, and many lives were saved. The Iron Bull and his Chargers have prevented another civil war from sweeping across Orlais with their efforts in Perendale. The Iron Bull in particular defeated the would-be usurper in combat. We must protest the actions of the Bull's Chargers in Southreach. While the presence of the demons and Templars corrupted by Red Lyrium is undisputed, the necessity of your dwarven miner collapsing the better part of a mountain on the enemy forces was hardly necessary. The Bull's Chargers were of great assistance in driving back the demons that attacked the shores of Lake Calenhad. The elf who calls herself Dalish was particularly helpful, and I look forward to her promised explanation of how Dalish archery techniques can create walls of ice or dispel magical barriers. Excerpts from letters of thanks relating to the activities undertaken by Bull's Chargers over the past 2 years. If Iron Bull was romanced. But sorry, lords and ladies, according to our source in Skyhold, this bull still only has a single rider, the Inquisitor him/herself. For anyone feeling horny or wanting to sit in the saddle, you'll have to steer yourself in some other direction as quickly as your calves can carry you, because our favorite Kunari mercenary isn't romanceable by you. The least tawdry excerpt from the gossip page of Mass Murmurs Monthly. Sarah. This report by Josephine has been defaced numerous times in a different hand. On Sarah, Red Jenny, and Velasissima Lady Parts von Knucklefronts. It falls to me to comment on this Red Jenny, for as a creature of the court, I must have seen the effect of her actions, although I cannot be certain. Does that make them effective or ineffective? What I know is that she has vexed city's guardsmen across Thedas and always escaped. Accessing all available records, it seems clear that there have been multiple embodiments of the name, often at the same time. The limitation of communication are such that this is impossible to verify in the moment. A crude drawing of a guard with her breeches at her ankles. The severity of the attributed actions vary widely, from petty to outright vicious. While official reports label these actions as unfair, I have knowledge of many named as victims, and several are of suspect character. Sarah would call them something altogether untoward. Yes, mum, shit's the lot of them. There are tales of Red Jenny targeting criminals, slavers, and even assassins' guilds. The benefit of having a local is that they are invested in regional concerns, although this obviously varies. I can discern no protocol. Don't need a title to be awful and deserve it. So who is our Red Jenny? She has been amusing herself in Val Royeaux for some time, although it is clear from her accent that she is deeply Ferelden. She met with outright laughter my inquiry as whether she had any special elven concerns that I should address. I have conferred with Leliana about the danger of this group, and our estimation is that this incarnation of Red Jenny is, at least, a good distraction. Aw, the scary one cares. Dialogue option. Tell me about your background / where are you from? Addendum. Denerim. Sarah's claim to have lived in Denerim cannot be verified, but seems likely. The alienage there was neither stable nor secure. Many residents of the city fled the region following the Blight. Given her nature, Val Rayo would have seemed rife with targets. Denerim has more than its share of suspect nobility, but most were rallied against a common enemy thanks to the efforts of the hero of Ferelden. Forced to, more like. Shits and double shits. After the rooftop cutscene in Skyhold, requires high approval. Addendum, Lady Emeld. I attempted to find information about this Lady Emeld Sarah mentioned. It is difficult given how many noble houses were all but erased during the Blight. Emeld seems a recent name rather than established nobility. Perhaps the title of lady was a negotiated honorific due to mercantile holdings. Didn't say she didn't work hard, said she was a bitch. If the Inquisitor romances Sarah, addendum, personal privacy. In light of your developing relationship with Sarah, I wish to clarify that any and all information I have gleaned is, at best, secondhand. I would never accept to exceed your own observations given their intimate nature, and I do not wish to intrude on your privacy. Keep your nose out, she's mine. Encountering Darkspawn with Sarah in the party. Addendum. On Sarah's hatred of Darkspawn, having read the reports, I might have expected that someone with ties to Ferelden, and specifically Denerim, would harbor a violent dislike of Darkspawn. Whatever claim she has to family, all were threatened during the Blight. They don't look right. Not living. Finding a Red Jenny cache while exploring. Addendum. On Red Jenny caches in populated areas. It bewilders how such things go unnoticed, but perhaps that is the power of the practiced servant. They are keenly aware of what escapes the preoccupied eye. Sarah, of course, can spy them instantly. She seems an extreme version of a very narrow definition of perceptive. I have pressed for a schedule or even some hint of procedure, but she is content to rely on the unknown. It may seem exciting, but I should find it ever so frustrating if I were searching. It's just red, right? Bet she'd see it if it was on a hat out of season. Upon sighting a high dragon. Addendum. On Sarah's fascination with dragons. I do not know what Sarah finds in dragons that enthralls her so, but it is clear from her excited admissions that battling them speaks to her in a way for which she was not prepared. At least in my estimation. If you seek an admission, at best she will declare that was grand, or similar. She's hardly introspective. Nevertheless, she has expressed an interest in any future hunts. A crude drawing of Sarah, tongue out, standing atop a dragon, mimicking its horns with her fingers. Piss, can't draw saddles. If Sarah left the Inquisition. Addendum. On Sarah's expulsion. Sarah was escorted from Inquisition holdings. She took very little. I expect that we will not have the pleasure of meeting her again. That we know of. We may find ourselves once more on our list of potential noble targets, but I do wonder how the pranks of Red Jenny and Absentia could be any worse than the prank she played while here. Solus. Cassandra, I understand our first order of business must be to investigate this bizarre breach in the sky and protect people from the demons descending. While my search continues, I wish to draw your attention to a new arrival at our camp, an elven apostate calling himself Solus. Solus entered the camp voluntarily, surrendering his staff to Chantry forces without protest. He is not Dalish, and says that he has never been part of the Circle, claiming instead to have studied magic peacefully on his own, particularly magic tied to the Fade. While I suspect you will be reluctant to accept the help of an apostate, Solus did come to us freely. Witnesses saw him in a nearby village at the time of the blast, so he was likely not responsible for what happened at the Conclave. However, he has described the effects of the breach in enough detail to convince me that he knows more about the Fade than anyone else present. Solus has requested permission to study the lone survivor and one of the smaller rifts, in hopes of finding a way to seal the breach. He has correctly guessed that it is growing and believes it will destroy the entire world unless we find a way to stop it. Unless you object, I will allow him his studies. Under proper observation, of course. Leliana. Epilogue excerpt. Inquisitor. Despite my efforts, I have been unable to locate Solus. From the site of your battle with Corypheus, he was last seen headed west, still distraught over the destruction of the orb Corypheus carried. From there, he disappeared, evading my people so easily and so completely that I am forced to wonder how much he knew about them. When Solus initially approached the Inquisition and offered aid, I questioned him extensively about his background and history. He was evasive, but he did give the name of the village where he grew up, noting that it was small, unlikely to appear on any map. I hate loose ends, so I kept a few of my agents searching to verify his story. They recently located the village, or what remains of it. It is a ruin, as it has been for centuries, its name preserved only in degraded form in ancient inventor mysteries. Whoever Solus truly is, wherever he came from, he has deceived us from the very start. I apologize for not investigating this more thoroughly when Solus was here. He was clearly helping us, and other matters were of greater urgency, but it was an oversight nonetheless, given how little he shared with us. It is not clear what his plans are, if any, but I will continue to search. Leliana. Varric. There's power in stories. That's all history is, the best tales, the ones that last. Might as well be mine. Varric Tethras of the Dwarven Merchants Guild of Kirkwall is famous, or infamous, for two things: his books and his association with the champion of Kirkwall. After the Templars and Circles broke away from the Chantry, Divine Justinia V sent her agents to Kirkwall, where the roots of the war began, in search of answers. The champion had long since disappeared, but Varric had written a book on his friend's involvement in the destruction of the Kirkwall Chantry, and the left and right hands of the Divine located him with surprising ease. They captured and interrogated him, then brought him to the Conclave to give his testimony to the Divine in person, but fate decreed that he would never meet her. Varric in the last few years. Inquisitor, greetings and salutations from beautiful Kirkwall. The sun is shining, the seabirds are screeching, and almost nothing in Hightown has fallen into a sinkhole and ended up in the sewers for over a month. The red lyrium cleanup in the gallows is going better than expected. Nobody misses having Meredith fused to the flagstones, eerily glaring at everyone. The city guard celebrated finally getting her out of there by holding a completely impromptu parade. Several Lowtown residents composed a song on the spot with lyrics to the effect of, "Thank the Maker, the crazy cursed Templar is gone," which was remarkably catchy, despite or maybe because of the fact that it was mostly just swearing in tune. Even with all this stellar progress, it looks like I'm stuck here. Channels in the harbor were completely changed by falling debris a few years back, which led to a lot of ships getting wrecked coming and going, which only made things worse. And then we had rifts open, and weird glowing fade rocks appeared out there. Incidentally, thanks for closing the rifts. Now the only hope for repairing the harbor is to send guys with pickaxes to clear the rocks. Ever try to hire miners who are also divers, Inquisitor? There aren't many, and even fewer are happy mining glowing shit from the Fade. This is going to take a lot of my coin to fix. Stop by the city sometime. We'll get in a game of Wicked Grace. Please. This Viscount shit is boring me to death. Varric. Vivienne. Magic is dangerous, just as fire is dangerous. Anyone who forgets this truth gets burned. An assiduous and talented scholar, Vivienne rose rapidly through the ranks of Montsemard's circle. When made a full-fledged enchanter, she elected to join no fraternity, a decision that shocked colleagues but may have been a calculated maneuver. When she successfully applied to be appointed enchanter to the imperial court, nearly every fraternity clamored for her favor in hopes of gaining a representative at the Empress's ear. She was voted first enchanter of Montsemard at an age young enough to cause scandal. The circle widely regards her as the most shrewd and disciplined mage in Orlais. Vivienne in the last few years. Inquisitor, I fear I shall have no opportunity to meet with you prior to the Exalted Council at Hallam Sharal. The colleges and fraternities of enchanters are holding yet another round of elections in a few months, and I must be present to organize everything, or the Aquitarians and the Lacrotians will inevitably get drawn into the most passive-aggressive arguments over the number of ballot boxes and the arrangements of voting cards you can possibly imagine. On the last two occasions, when I could not be spared from my duties at the Imperial Court, the isolationists sealed themselves inside the debating area with ice walls in protest over some insult from Libertarian senior enchanter from Cumberland. I must, of course, convey the continuing approbation of the Olesian court, though I have no doubt dear Duke Cyril has already bored you to death with the Council of Heralds' compliments by now. Cordially, Vivienne. If Vivienne is the divine. My dear Inquisitor, I hope this letter finds you well. I do apologize for the tardiness of my correspondence. I have, of course, been extremely busy, but that should never serve as an excuse for neglecting one's most influential friends. I look forward to seeing you again, my dear, though it is a pity we must meet under such disagreeable circumstances as the Exalted Council. It seems we've only just put the mage crisis to bed, and now the Ferelden Banorn is awake and crying for attention. I shall let Josephine give you the details of our upcoming business so that I can instead discuss more important plans for our reunion, namely shopping, darling. There's an excellent milliner planning to make the trip to the Dales from the capital just for the occasion to meet us, and of course we must visit the Imperial Garden Spa at least once. With affection, Divine Victoria. Cullen. Whatever you have heard of Kirkwall's rebellion, the truth is far worse. I would spare you that. What remains of Kirkwall's Templars have been under my command for the past few years. We have done what we could to assist with the city's recovery, to restore some semblance of order, but my time here is done. Seeker Pentagast has approached me. She wishes to stop the war between mages and Templars. She has been recruiting men and women to the cause and wishes me to oversee the group's military concerns. If the conclave goes well, then we will not be needed. If not, we stand ready. I have decided to take Seeker Pentagast's offer. The circles have fallen. I can give no more to the Templar Order, nor to me. The Maker has shown me a new path. I must take it. Excerpt from a letter sent to Southreach by Commander Cullen. After the chess game at Skyhold. Dear Mia, I'm still alive. Your loving brother Cullen. Honestly, is it so difficult? We thought you were dead. Again. If the Inquisition was not on everyone's lips, we would never have heard that their fine commander survived Haven. We've been hearing strange things about the Templars lately. I'm not sorry you left them. I thought your resignation was implied when you joined the Inquisition, but you meant something more, didn't you? It's a fool's errand asking you to stay safe, but please try. Your loving sister, see how easy this is? Mia. If the Inquisitor starts a romance with Cullen. Cullen, I was glad to receive your last letter. You sound happy. It's been... Never mind. I just hope you're well. Which reminds me, Inquisitor's first name? Not Inquisitor? Not Her Worship, the Herald of Andraste? Your last letter was far too short. Love, Mia. Mia, I will write you a longer letter when there is time. Stop prying. Cullen. Cullen in the last few years. Cullen. Word has spread from Denerim about the summit the Inquisition will attend. The news is half rumors, but with the representatives they say are going, it's clearly serious, and the details are probably not something you can put down in a letter. I will, however, look forward to more glowing descriptions about how much you love Orlesian parties. Branson's here. His son insists I add "Hello, Cull" to this letter. He also insists it be "Hello" and not "Hello." Your nephew is stubborn. How very familiar. Love, Mia. If Cullen was romanced. Cullen. Word has spread from Denerim about the summit the Inquisition will attend. The news is half rumors, but with the representatives they say are going, it's clearly serious. And the details are probably not something you can put down in your letter. I will, however, look forward to more glowing descriptions about how much you love Orlesian parties. I'm sure you and Inquisitor's name will find enough danger away from the summit. You always do. Is it worth warning either of you to be careful? If Cullen continues taking lyrium. I have no word from the contacts you mentioned, but a Skyhold messenger delivered a letter from your sister among the reports we requested. It is not my place, but she sends so many. I do hope you'll read it. Josephine. An additional note accompanies the main letter. Both are crumpled. Cullen. After how many letters, I don't expect you to answer. I'm not even sure if you'll read this. But maybe you will, and I don't think it will help, but I want you to read it all the same. This isn't the first time you've disappeared on me, and I'm no less stubborn. When you're ready to come back, I'll be here for you. Love always, Mia. Josephine. Seeker Cassandra. Josephine Montillier is a noble from the nation of Antiva. She was educated in Valrayo, where she built connections among the court. Once she finished her schooling at a surprisingly young age, Lady Montelier became the official diplomat between King Fulgiano of Antiva to Empress Selene of Orlais. The appointment suits her. She is well traveled, familiar with many forms of etiquette, and by all accounts a skilled negotiator. If that endorsement does not suffice, Josephine is a personal friend. I have faith in her. We require someone both influential and trustworthy to be an ambassador for the Inquisition. You cannot tell me you would prefer to take the job yourself. Sister Leliana. Josephine in the last few years, if Josephine was not romanced. Dear Inquisitor Surname, Commander Cullen has reviewed the soldiers. I have written and received so many letters from the Orlesian court, our birds practically blot out the sun. We are as prepared for the Exalted Council as we will ever be. I know this past year has been full of formal meetings. Goodness knows I have attended many myself, but this one will truly test the alliances and friendships we have worked so hard to build. If I may offer you any advice, Inquisitor, it is this. Keep a ready smile, and remember we have their attention because we are to be reckoned with. Respectfully yours, Ambassador Montelier. If Josephine was romanced. My dear player name, Commander Cullen has reviewed the soldiers. I have written and received so many letters from the Orlesian court our birds practically blot out the sun. We are as prepared for the Exalted Council as we will ever be. I know this past year has been full of formal meetings. Goodness knows I have attended many myself, but this one will truly test the alliances and friendships we have worked so hard to build. Take courage, darling, and please visit me before we begin the Exalted Council. It would make me so happy to see you. Love, Josephine. Leliana. She has many names. Most know her as Sister Leliana or the Nightingale. Some refuse to speak her name at all, referring to her only as the left hand of the divine, the shadow behind the sunburst throne. The spymaster Marjolaine trained Leliana from a young age. For years, Leliana was Marjolaine's instrument in the great game of Orlais. While Leliana was devoted to Marjolaine, the reverse was not true. Marjolaine betrayed Leliana and almost succeeded in killing her. Leliana survived the betrayal thanks to revered Mother Dorothea. Following this betrayal, Leliana spent several years in a cloister in Ferelden, hiding from her past. Inspired by revered Mother Dorothea, Leliana dedicated herself to her faith, discovering peace in a simple life of devotion. But when the Fifth Blight began, she received what she believed a vision from the Maker. This prompted her to leave her sanctuary, taking up arms against the Darkspawn. Several years after the defeat of the Archdemon, Leliana received a summons from Dorothea, now Divine Justinia V. She returned to Orlais to become an agent of the Sunburst Throne. Justinia perished in the explosion that destroyed the Divine Conclave, and Leliana became the founding member and spymaster of the new Inquisition. If Leliana is elected Divine Victoria. After the defeat of Corypheus and the sealing of the breach, the Chantry chose Leliana to be the new Divine. Divine Victoria, as she will be named, will oversee the birth of a new Chantry, one that she hopes will reunite all the peoples of Thedas. Leliana in the last few years. If Leliana is elected Divine. Inquisitor, thank you so much for your kind inquiries. I am doing very well, although I have been quite busy. Selecting new staff at my apartments at the Grand Cathedral has taken me so much longer than expected, and if you wouldn't mind, I would like to borrow Scout Harding for a few weeks to help me find more nugs. I cannot possibly hire anyone to a permanent position without first observing them in a room full of baby nugs, and the litters I have on hand are nearly full grown. In any case, I will see you soon at Helm Shrall. Until then, Leliana. If Leliana is not elected Divine. Inquisitor, unfortunately I must report that my attempt to use nugs in place of messenger birds in the Deep Roads has not gone well. On the first attempt, the nugs I released would not even go in the right direction, choosing instead to run around in circles and collide with walls while trying to squirm out from under the message canisters. After considerable training, the second attempt went slightly better, with only half trying to escape their collars, while the others at least tried to go in the right direction. However, none of the nugs arrived at their destination. I will require some of Charter's time in dealing with an Orlesian noblewoman I believe to be intercepting my nugs. From my surveillance, she appears to be dressing them in little frocks that are simply terrible. Nightingale. That is the end of reading through the Companion Codex entries for Dragon Age Origins, Dragon Age 2, and Dragon Age Inquisition. Thanks so much for joining me. Until next time, I'll see you later. But be sure to come back and visit.